It's June the 22nd, 2016. I'm Dana Durnford, your host, nuclearologist.org. And you can find these videos and Fukushima presentations throughout the entire internet. Today in the media, the good old-fashioned media came out and said that Japan lied about the meltdowns and that there's 3 meltdowns in Japan and it was a cover-up. The national RT, TEPCO admits Fukushima cover-up and meltdown. Yes, the New Jersey Herald, delay in declaring meltdown was a cover-up. Newsmax, Fukushima nuclear company apologizes for meltdown cover-up. Japan and the big nuclear lie. Utility head blamed for late mention of Fukushima, etc., etc., etc. Okay, there you go. 5 years later. 5 years later, after vilifying everybody that spoke about it, demonized everybody that even brought up and said, hey, wait a second, shouldn't it be declared a meltdown? They spent 12 million yen right away on Twitter to censor everybody. So now they admit there's a meltdown. Now they say, well, there's a meltdown. But if you look at the actual buildings, do you need anybody to tell you that's a meltdown? Do you need someone to grab you by the hand and say, hey, that building is destroyed? Because the buildings were 10 stories high. And the fuel poles, the reactor cores, every 2 years are put on the roof. There's no roof on the building. There's no roof on top of that building because they tore it all down after it blew up. Right? Look at it. It blew up all the way to the ground. Then they tore it off all the way down to the ground. And you can see the guts hanging out to your left there. You can see the Geiger counter, 167 counts per minute. In Germany, five atomic decays, 5 of those counts. You throw your food on the nuclear waste site, excuse me. But what I'm going to do for everybody is I put together a rough day today. I went to the Fukushima Inquisition today. Declare a state of emergency right away and intervene in Fukushima 2013. Fukushima disaster beyond a cover-up. Japan government thinks they can get away with tricking the masses with the extent of the problem. And if you think about that one, here's CNN inside of Reactor 4. Yet they're out there telling everybody that Japan hit it. Now, here they are out there hiding it. So this is ABC. They're doing the same thing. Where they're claiming they're inside of a building that don't exist. That's pictures from ABC. And Celia Vega done the same thing. She claims she's inside of Reactor 4, yeah? Then you have Russia Today doing the same thing, but yet they're all out there in the media saying TEPCO lied, but here they all are lying. Every one of them. BBC, Rupert Wingfield Hayes. You can hear it yourself.
So this is really why we've been brought here. Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be.
So these people are crazy. TEPCO done the same thing 2 months ago at the press club in Washington D.C. Came out and faked Unit 4. Hang on. Right, faking being inside of Unit 4. That's 2 months ago. Wait for it. That's PBS, Miles O'Brien, claiming he's inside of Unit 4. Then you have Seth Dorn, CBS. Hang on, CBS claiming they're inside of Unit 4. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. By the way, that's what Unit 4 looks like now. So you had all of those people saying they're inside of that, and that is beautiful. It's wonder bars in there. No worry, mate. Have a nice day. So that cover-up has went on and on. So let's cover these headlines that I got set aside for everybody. But yet all those medias were out there telling you the last couple of days, TEPCO lied. Yet here they faked being inside of this building here. This building completely destroyed from the ground up. Totally obliterated. So look for the headlines. Last sentence, officials in TEPCO cannot be trusted. They're lying to the camera. Well, they had a lot of help. And they've done a lot of damage with all that help. And everybody that took the voice of these institutions I just showed you, or Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, or the University of Victoria, these people were murdered. But it takes 10, 20 years for the cancers to show up. There's 1,800 autoimmune deficiencies, diseases, illnesses that'll show up before the cancer. Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, diabetes, heart, liver, lung, respiratory, pituitary, adrenaline glands, and the list goes on and on and on. Long before cancer shows up, they'll show up. Ultimate worst case scenario on their way at Fukushima. New York Times, 2013. Okay, I said 13, sue me, lose. You know, gotta shake off a bit of stress. Nobody's as stressed out as I am, trust me. 5 years after, now they're out there admitting it. But what about all the carnage and damage and ridicule that they pumped out? What about all the PR firms that perpetrated that lie and attacked anybody that come out and talked about the actual pertinent facts of it? Demonized and vilified and smeared like was done to me, and still done to me. Well, I'm the #1 target, period. I had to take down 300 of these presentations. People to silence me, or they're going to lock me up if I didn't take them down, and I got to go to court about it. And then the videos I'm accused of, they use ghost accounts to knock down. Now, here's a long, complicated story. I'm not going to get into it. Melted fuel is exiting Fukushima site. The fuel is exiting the site. The fuel. The actual fuel. If you're into nuclear, you might understand what I'm talking about. How terrifying those words are. The melt source for Fukushima fuel is definitely down with the groundwater, and that's flowing into the Pacific. It gets international quickly. The jet streams are real. The ocean currents are real. Even though scientists have been telling you for 5 years they're not, in order to perpetrate the lie out that TEPCO and the rest of them are out there apologizing for today. What about the damage these people done? Who's going to undo what they done? Who's going to undo this irreparable damage they've done to the entire planet, the extinction event playing out in the Pacific Ocean? Because of their lies. But now that they admitted their lies, is it not time we go down now and deal with the reactors? Is it not time now to stop using the homeless, the destitute, and the immigrants who don't speak the language? Is it not time to stop burning it in the incinerators down there? Is it not time to stop dumping it everywhere now that they admit how bad the problem is? Before they said there was no problem, it wasn't only mildly contaminated. Now they admit there's 3 melted reactors. So now they got to admit it's highly contaminated. Now they have to admit what we already know. Finally, hopefully, because we're not going to put up with them not admitting it. We're not going to put up with them not doing anything about it. We're not going to put up with it waiting for the extinction event to play out like faithful little puppy dogs, because we ain't puppies. We are pit bulls at this stage. Not that pit bulls are bad dogs, but they can get shit done. There was a nuclear explosion at Reactor 3, and I believe the fuel rods were blowing out of the pool. Really? I gotta say I agree. That's Unit 4. That's Unit 3. Same thing could be said for Unit 1, and certainly Unit 4. But Unit 3 is a cakewalk for that to be factual, yeah? The fuel rods were blowing out. Gee. Now, Reactor 3 was mixed oxide fuel. This is where they use reclaimed uranium, reclaimed plutonium from missiles that sat in silos for 40 or 50 years already, unstable, have already went through a chain reaction, are already 2 million times worse than what they were originally, and now we're 2 million times again. Such a stressful day today. I'm going to be smoking a cigarette. It's called CNTs. CNT, Canadian Natural Tobacco. It doesn't have 7,000 chemicals. Don't have a seizure. Don't crawl in the corner and, defecate all over yourself because it doesn't have the cigarette. TEPCO admitted, lying to you for 5 years. I've had a rough day. Rough day for me. Tough day for me. Authorities on the U.S. West Coast concerned with stunning news from Fukushima. Radioactive water is pouring out every day and headed our way. Well, that's better than bleeding or leaking. Next. Ocean are already contaminated with the full ranges of radioactive isotopes and their daughters. And that host of manifestations that will be evident soon. Or is evident now. But because you finally got your eyes open is why you said it that way. Because you finally now say, okay, well, TEPCO admitted, so maybe I should look at it again. But TEPCO is a corporation. Why would you trust a corporation in the first place? Mark Zuckerberg can't get a criminal record, yet he broke the law repeatedly in many countries. But he's not going to get a criminal record. I mean, he's not going to refer to him as the criminal that he actually is. No, it's okay for him to do it. Because he didn't get a criminal record. So he's a good guy. He paid a $500 million fine then, it's all good. Yeah, but he stole from everybody to do it. My cigarettes don't got 7,000 chemicals. But such a stressful day. That's what I do sometimes. But I'm a generation being affected by Fukushima and also their future health care. How are those in charge of getting away with this? Time after time, but just saying sorry. Right? How? TEPCO, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yay, sorry, TEPCO, sorry, everybody. Fukushima melted fuel is drifting in the ocean on the land, lacking containment, ends up on the coastline, blows into the community. It's picked up through evaporation, convection, through rain, through fog, through just moisture. It's liberated the same way as salt. Salt, insects up to 200 miles inland are acclimated to more salt in their diet. After that, the pH is pretty consistent, pre-Fukushima. Dump all Fukushima nuclear waste in the Pacific, no risk to the U.S. New scientists. See, these are powerful, maniacal bootlickers for the industry. Cheerleading lapdogs for the mass murder machine, for the torture machine, for the misery machine. That's what nuclear is. It's a misery machine. 6 times more breast cancer if you're within 15 miles of a nuclear power plant. Is that not a misery machine? 22% more leukemias in study after study, sometimes much more. If it's within 15 miles of a nuclear power plant, is that not a misery machine? It boils 1 million gallons a minute. Each gallon is 16 glasses of water. Each glass, less than the size of that, is 1 billion creatures. 75 to 100 million of them are phytoplankton, the basis of the food chain, the oxygen chain, the carbon sequestering chain. Very harmful stuff, what it's doing. Experts fear a giant underground reservoir, extremely contaminated water on the verge of break it open. Yeah, there's caverns under the plant, and all the water and rain and snow and everything can melt. And there's a river behind this place anyway. All of this is radioactive and it's going to end up in the Pacific. No one will even know it came. No one will even know it went, except for the creatures that are not there anymore. Because we got an extinction event. Nobody knows when this will end. Official Chinese press. Fukushima contamination is serious international environmental crisis issue. Crisis concerns the core interests of people who share the planet. So you look at the dates on these, look at the headlines and the people that are talking about these. This is just aggregated at an energy media. They didn't write the headline. They didn't write the article. They just linked you over to it. Right? That's all they do. Same as that, all those links there is no different than what you're seeing here. It's just those same people aggregated into one spot. Canadian scientists test seafood for Fukushima contamination. Official Chinese press, Fukushima contamination is a serious international environmental issue. Now, this is the reason, one of the reasons I think TEPCO right now is coming out, is because China has been putting real pressure on them for about 2 weeks. We knew they were going to crack because the Japanese can't handle China's pressure. China says you got to come out and tell the world what happened for the last couple of weeks, right? And we covered those headlines. Plus, we got an extinction event. And by lying about it for the last 5 years, no one's bothered trying to come up with technology to actually stop the reactors because TEPCO says no issue. All the media says no issue. All the experts, UNSCLEAR, United Nations, ERPA, all the big atomic energy agencies have all come out and said no issue. No, it's not as bad as Chernobyl. Chernobyl, 1/3 the size, 30% meltdown. Chernobyl stopped after 10 days. Chernobyl, over 3 million children, permanent disabilities in Ukraine and Belarus. That's Kofi Annan in 2000, United Nations. But it's still just a paper towel compared to Fukushima. So they had to come out at some point. Yeah, we bullied them. We made a difference. It is our very push. It is our very determination. It is our very tenacity, our constant, endless bombardment of factual information that has swayed many politicians, many academics, to understand the implications. Too late, man, but still. Let's try to do something. Now that we admit it, let's go out and come up with technology and try to solve it. Because that's where that begins. That's the implications of TEPCO coming out and saying, sorry, my bad. Well, now we can start talking about the real issue, can't we? Because now they admit there's 3 melted reactors. You can't get any more blatant than what they just done. Everybody come out and done it, yet they're all the same ones who hid it from us. But that's what we got to work with. We got to work with a bunch of disgusting, pathetic, lying sacks of doo-doo that don't have any kind of checks and balances whatsoever. But that's what we got, and that's what we're stuck with. Their loved ones and families and friends will have to deal with in their future when they find out what they're really like, what they've really done. You can't hide away what happened here. People think they can get on with their life here in British Columbia. Better give their head a shake, and when it falls off, give it a kick. Because we are in an event. We were all breathing hot particles. We better get our acts together and take care of ourselves and inform the population and come up with solutions. It stopped being a game on March the 12th, 2011. And ever since then, it's been a nightmare. And we better deal with it. It's important to think of the worst case scenario, yeah? Plants are built on rivers as, that's their old shit. Right? It's built on a river, it melts down, and the river runs over and keeps it cool forever. That's the old shit of a nuclear power plant. That's their backup plan. That's why it's built where it is. That's why they engineer the site the way they do. They know it's going to melt down, the ocean's going to come in and bury it. And then whisk away all the energy, heat, and fissile products. This is an ecocide and a genocide on purpose. There was no reason to build the nuclear power plants. It's predicated upon lie after lie after lie after lie. That is clean and green and too cheap to meter. That is carbon free. And we've blown all of that completely out of the water. To get a gram of it, you got to have 400 train car loads of iron ore, and then you got to crush that up, and then you got to use a stupid amount of water, contaminate that. Then you got to use train loads of chemicals to separate it, harsh chemicals that are then evaporated into the environment. Yeah, there's nothing good about it. Mind there's 65,000 unregulated chemicals. Authorities on the U.S. West Coast concerned with stunning news from Fukushima. Statement by the Canadian official indicate Fukushima contamination was detected in official levels that are difficult to explain. Sockeye used a Geiger counter. Geiger counter can't pick up natural stuff unless it's extraordinary, refined natural stuff. Growing sense of crisis at Fukushima. TEPCO very concerned about high levels of contamination in the groundwater thought to be clean. Because they've been lying about it for the last 5 years and now they come out and admit it. See? So if you were to go revisit all of these headlines, you'd understand how big these lies are you're looking at right now. But yet, we're going to be hearing about Fukushima contamination for decades. Well, starting now because they finally admit it. But see, all of these headlines that were out there was emblematic of the issue in the first place. But because they were so spasmic all over the place and so random, and that they never got referred to in context after. But when you aggregate them the way I got it done, and brings it up into context with pictures and everything else, tonight mine is mostly headlines, in the history of science we've never seen anything like this Fukushima plume heading across the Pacific, the US and Canada. And why is Japan allowed to get away with contaminating the ocean? Well, they got away with it because they all went along with it. They got away with it. I mean, when you think about what they've really done, right? How PBS faked being inside, how Seth Dorn faked being inside, how BBC Rupert Winfield faked being in there, how Russia Today faked being in there, how Cecilia Vega faked being in there, right, from ABC, how ABC's Matt Carty faked being in there, yeah? So all these people like CNN, Anna, fakes being in there.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled.
Right here I am inside of Unit 4. That's what she said that time, yeah? Here I am in Unit 4. Wait for it. I'll give you the building that she's actually talking about. Someday. Someday. Okay, that's not the pictures we wanted. I wanted these pictures. Even because they're all skits what you're looking at that time. Here comes building 4. Strap yourselves in. All those reporters are in that building. No, I'm not making it up. She's in that building. Right? Look at her. You can see me in the corner. But anyway, she's in that building. No, I know she's not in the building, Dana, but she's pretending, along with the rest of them, at the same time that they're in there. Right? She's saying, you're as stupid as a rock, and she's God. So who are you going to believe? You're going to believe me? You're going to believe her? You're going to believe the truth, the real picture? These are both official pictures. That's the official picture. That's the official picture. And so you got to do your little extraction on your own. They're going to kill me at some point, so I'm not going to be here to guide you through all this anyway. We know all the symbols are there. They're going to kill me at some point soon. Why is Japan allowed to get away with contaminating the ocean? Because they're going to kill like people like me, so they can't tell the story about what they're doing. So it's important I do it now, while I got a chance. It's shocking we don't know where the fuel is. That's why they arrested me, because they didn't want that story out there. I didn't do anything wrong. They haven't got a case against me. They can't beat me in court. This was about liquidating my assets. This was about humiliating me. This was about vilifying me and taking people that fall for that game and giving them ammunition to disregard me. Right? That's all it was about, was taking the people out there that buy into the lie and sex of Dudo machine. Right? Not say, hey, Dana, you were right. Say, well, then TEPCO admitted it now. Not understanding, not able to appreciate the implications of what they've done for the last 5 years, like the absolute carnage they created, the harm. And I've covered it extensively. All the babies, that there was a spike in baby deaths after Fukushima, a spike in adults, heart attacks, 20,000 excess heart attacks right after Fukushima, never seen before in that month in any previous years. Just a massive spike of different types of deaths associated with radioactive fallout. Cesium attacks your heart right away. It's electrically charged, it's pulsing, and give you a heart attack. Seawater is being poisoned at a continuous rate. Source of life which our lives depend is being corrupted. Has been exterminated. And we showed that on the Fukushima Expedition for Lives. I'm not going to cover that tonight though, but we've done 260 days, 15,000 miles of the coastline. We're not armchair activists at all. And I was at nuclear long before Fukushima happened. Fukushima radioactive tanks may have already been emptied into the Pacific Ocean. By the way, we've done 9,000 headlines, plus, more than that actually, before I went on the ocean. So we're not random people is what I'm trying to say. We're the real deal. Fears are mounting that Fukushima radiation could lead to dangerous contamination levels in seafood from the Pacific, at least for now. So if you've got a single atom in the fish, and the fish is, say, 2 pounds and 5 people eat it, somebody ate that atom. Now that's going to sequester in your muscles or in your bones, in your body, and then it's going to be emitting constantly. And your body's going to attack it for a couple of decades with white blood cells displacing the oxygen molecule, the red blood cells in your body. Right? Because your spleen and your joints are going to be producing all of these white blood cells. Because you got less oxygen now circulating for the next couple of decades, right? Because that never stops. Your body attacks it non-stop with white blood cells. You get a cut on your finger, your body attacks it with white blood cells till it heals. That never heals when it's in you. It's in your food, it's in your water, it's in everywhere. It's permeated every aspect of your life because they hid it away. And you had no way to know it, no way to appreciate the significance of something you can't see or taste or hear or feel or pick up or smell. Fears are mounting that Fukushima radiation could lead to dangerous contamination, yeah? It's already done, right? We were breathing hot particles, everybody was. Hundreds of hot particles every day. Up to 360 in California from the sulfur peroxide hydrogen buckyballs. This spherical peroxide sulfur buckyball is created from salt water and these enormous. They were spraying salt waters on the reactors. This was a nuclear bombs going off every minute by doing that. Because it ingests the thousands of isotopes coming from the fissionable products. It ingests those and turns it into a little nuclear engine. It's a very insidious. I'm not going to go down that road either today. But I just want to talk about this because TEPCO is now able to admit it. And I want you to show you all the other stuff that was already admitted. We didn't need them to admit anything. We need a war crimes tribunal immediately. We need the whole the media, like the people that went and showed you this fake Unit 4 in the media, got to be held accountable. I don't care if they kill me. Those people still got to be held accountable. We got to get on with this. There's no way forward without justice. TEPCO research or says it's impossible to contain the radioactive wastewater. Yeah, because of the noble gases. If you try to contain the noble gases, you only need oxygen to show up, and that'll detonate. It doesn't need a flame. It doesn't need, the catalyst is oxygen. Japan government has lost all credibility. TEPCO admits not working on plan to stop Fukushima radioactive leak. No, why should they? They worked on telling you lies and manipulating you and deceiving you and tricking you and fooling you and ridiculing anybody that come out and told you the factual information like I've done repeatedly. Which is all I do. Official blames Japan government over Fukushima. I mean, 158 counts per minute on the Geiger counter up in the corner. That's bad news. And the Geiger counter is only counting 1 in every 6 of actual decays. So multiply the numbers you see up there by 6 whenever you see a number. All the time, anytime. You multiply it by 6 to get your real numbers. And that's only going to find beta, alpha, gamma, whatever it's calibrated for. It's not going to find the spectrum of the other ones. But it's an indication that there really isn't and that is designed to pick up man-made radiation only. The stuff you've seen. So none of that wouldn't go if it wasn't for nuclear. And what that means is we're breathing it all the time. Severe impact on the oceanic environment, unpredictable amount of damage to the Pacific. Well, not really. We went out and done 260 days on the coastline. We've done 260 days on the coastline. And I'll bring up a couple pictures just to explain that to you. That's the operation. And we've done 15,000 miles of the coastline. The arrows are the representation of areas that I went. And to your left, to your very left, you see Prince Rupert. Just look to your left of that and come down a little bit. That's the Queen Charlotte Islands. It's formerly known as Queen Charlotte's de Hautiguay. It's been renamed over the last number of years. Now in the Hautiguay, normally you would get around 70 of these per square meter. When I was there was 0 per square meter. So this is the Hautiguay. These are all from the same. These pictures are pre and post Fukushima. This is pre-Fukushima. That's post-Fukushima. Pre-Fukushima, post-Fukushima. So normally you can, and you did. This is Louise and Earls in the Queen Charlotte. I spent 2 months in the Charlotte Islands. I hung out with the dive fleet, commercial dive fleet, when I was there for 2 months. But that's just for like a supply ship for fuel and water and stuff like that. And just in case I got into trouble. And company too, of course. Okay, so you got all these species. The whole coastline looked like that. And now it looks like that in the same spot. Like normally every millimeter was jostling with life. Now it's naked and lethargic. If there is anything left there, the little tiny specks that are there don't have the color, don't have the diversity, don't have the imposing effect that you're familiar with for this whole. This is what I'm familiar with. This is what is normal for me. That is normal, right? This is what I'm used to seeing. That's what it would normally look like. This is what it looks like now, the same spot. Normally it would look like that. Normally it would look like this. Normally it would look like that, or like this, or like that. Everywhere you go. That's what made it unique. That's what made it special. This is what made it fantastic, incredible, inconceivable, unimaginable. Just a pleasure, an absolute dream. So normally bringing my little dinky ashore was dangerous because of the red sea urchins. And then these are the giant sea plume sea anemones. These are one of 78 species. They come in multiple colors, by the way. That's one species. All the species do in multiple colors. But you would get up to 500 per square meter. They have been eradicated along with all the mollusks, the snails, the periwinkles, the shellfish, and all the other species. What's down lower in the water, you'll find some. But in the actual tidal zones, which were normally a diverse, incredible, inconceivable, unimaginable, impressive, endearing, amazing, unforgettable, just an incredible experience, is now a horrific, unimaginable desolation. You would starve to death. All of those pictures are from the same place. Can you guess which one is pre-Fukushima, which ones were post-Fukushima? I really hope you do. Let's keep going with the headlines. But once again, I'm not some random person. I'm somebody that went out there and done the whole coastline. Right? We've done that whole coastline. Up to 260 days, up to 5 months without coming home. I had to live on that. I had to find the money to fund the whole operation. and that we covered the whole coastline, 15,000 miles of the coastline. And so when I talk about things, it's backed up with absolutely indisputable, incontestable, unapproachable facts. Just like everything I'm showing you here. Now I've become death to destroyer of worlds. Leaked Godzilla trailer about Fukushima. I got so many screens going on. I got so much software. It's just, you have to excuse me because I'm always shifting. And I know that's awkward for people. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just one person, right? And just to pull off what I pull off every time at these presentations, these videos, is inconceivable amount of work and time and energy and effort. And I'm usually, I'm usually exhausted to the point of exhaustion by the time I finish it. I already shot this twice in a row and smurfed up so bad I had to go back and reshoot everything again. So this is third time out, and this one will probably smurf up. Who knows? 30 minutes in, maybe I'll call it a short one tonight, because I haven't smurfed up so far. So I'll just whip through a bunch of headlines. We'll call it a half-an-hour show. Blurp, blurp, blurp. Scientists, Japan experts must be allowed to report health consequences. Well, they couldn't report it because they wouldn't admit there was meltdowns. See? News concerned about radiation levels in fish from the Pacific. These numbers are just staggering. Yeah? Oh, I bet. Horrific. Alarming mass die-off starfish. Now, starfish uses water, salt water, like blood. But throughout history, the starfish are eating, the mollusks and the clams and the filter feeders. And so a fish will magnify it 10 to 15,000 times, but a filter feeder will magnify it, 100,000 times. And so starfish are eating all of these filter feeders all the time. So they died off because they're dependent upon the filter feeders. So they were getting the biggest doses. Areas with rivers of body parts. Now I had divers when we were in the Charlottes at nighttime telling me about just legs everywhere, starfish legs everywhere, and they were horrified. They've never seen nothing like it, and asked me, did I think it had something to do with Fukushima? And of course, I explained like I just explained to you, yeah, sadly. But doctors warn about radiation substances from Fukushima coming to the West Coast because they're keeping kids away from the beaches. See, this doctor was morally and ethically driven. See, the sad part is we're going to have to, at some point, we're going to evacuate everything west of the Rocky Mountains to the Pacific coastline. It's going to end up being evacuated because it's liberated from the ocean, brought into the Rocky Mountains, washes back down to the coastline, liberated, brought into the Rocky Mountains, loses its payloads, rain we're talking about. But also, like there's tens of thousands of miles. This is a cycle of life. That's why we got no ice, pack ice, glacier ice left in the mountains. Glacier ice. 4,000, 5,000 year old ice is all gone. Right? So all the rivers and lakes and estuaries and streams and the coastline is regulated temperatures by that cold water all summer long. So that's why we see the die-off of the insects and the animals, because the habitat is overheated. It doesn't have the cold water coming down. Snow is not going to work. It has to be the glacier ice pack itself. See? So we'll pretty well end it there. Complete collapse of the sardine population on the west coast around Vancouver. Official, it's unexpected. Well, the humpback whales that we see are, all the whales that we see dying, the staggering amount, they starve to death. Like 12 inches of blubber down to 4, and then we find them. They're not parasites, there's not toxins, dioxins, it's not injuries, and they starve to death. It's the same with the 500,000 birds up north. They couldn't find the herring, the sardines, the anchovies, the squid, etc., the krill. They came ashore, the 5,600 species on the shoreline were missing. The 4.2 million other species didn't receive the coastline, so they starved to death. And the ones that went in the woods looking for the insects starved to death. The ones that went into the lake's interior, 8,000 of the saltwater murres, common murres, were found in a freshwater lake. These dive 600 feet in the ocean. We've never seen them in lakes any scattered time accidentally, but never like 8,000 and all of them dead and all of them starved to death. No, because Fukushima is real. And see, we got to deal with it, and that's why they're coming out and admitting it. But they don't want to take any kind of, they don't want any consequences. They want to be able to get away with it. That's why they waited all this time. Now we are having an event. All of Japan is highly radiated. Canada is destroyed. You can't see it or smell it or taste it or hear it or feel it, pick it up or throw rocks at it or anything like that. But that doesn't mean that it's not here in just incredible amounts. It never stopped coming. It's still in a chain reaction down there. So we got to do something. We got to have a conversation. We haven't got time to be Mr. Politically Correct, left or right. It's time to go to battle. It's time to have a real conversation. It's not time to pretend that this didn't happen anymore. They're shipping the rice in the UK, right? And if they accept it there, it goes to all the other European countries. This stuff is grown right by the reactors. These people are out of control. They are out of control. And it's time for us to step up to the plate. It's time for you to step up to the plate. It's time for you to share this with everybody you know. It's time for you to talk about it. It's time for you not to hide away anymore. You're educated enough now at this stage, everybody out there. It's time to bring the fight to them. It's time to keep the pressure on them. It's time to have a coalition of sanity. It's time to have a coalition of moral. And it's time for me to go. We'll talk to everybody next stream. When I get an opportunity. It's coming soon. I'm just exhausted. We're raising money at thenuclearproctologist.org. Donate with your credit cards. For goodness sakes, will people please support me? Because how can I exist without support? I've been demonized for 5 years, and no one would, and we got support, but not the support that's necessary. But enough to make the difference for everything that I've done. And something that I'm eternally grateful for till the end of time. But it's also something now that we need to understand that we can't walk away from. We can't turn our back on it. Now's the time to ratchet it up. Now's the time to have that voice out there. And who is that voice? That, unfortunately, that's me. I've taken that responsibility. But I need to raise the funding to create that voice, to create that organization, to have that equipment, to have that ability to compete with these people and to get out there and compete with them in the real world, in lectures and presentations and everything else. I still need that support until I'm self-sustaining. And that is coming, but it's still a long way away. And that's something we struggle with all the time. And so you can donate at PayPal, danadurford@hotmail.com at PayPal. You'll find the links below the video. Hugs for everybody. Once again, if everybody donated $1 or $2 a month, I'd be a pretty powerful entity. And at some point that'll happen. And at that point, when you're ready, I'll be ready. And I'll just be better. The longer it takes, the better I'll be. But the longer it takes, the deeper we are in trouble. And so I'm constantly reminding you that at some point you will understand what I'm saying to you, and you'll find a way to make this happen, because I can't. And so I have no choice but to ask. And that is the hardest part of my job. Not all the work I do, but those couple of sentences are just where I had to ask. They're the most difficult thing imaginable. And I understand that if I don't do that, then we all are in a lot of trouble. And so I have no options. I have to ask. Because I know in my heart and my soul and what I've accomplished and what I will accomplish, that that is the right thing for me to do. So you can donate. You find the links under the video. If not, don't worry about it. Don't feel bad about it. Don't worry. Don't consider it. Just learn and be prepared to educate your loved ones when they come to terms with it in the future. Hugs for everybody. We'll talk to everybody soon. When we get back up and running, you'll be the first to know. Take care, folks.